Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. Now, today we got a pretty interesting show for you guys, but before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Before I get it started, yo, Marco. Suzette said I live in the hut. For some of you guys who don't know what that means, this is something I'm referring to. Marco, the co-founder of Dreamerspro, somebody said that I live in the hut. It's just pretty hilarious. Anyway, as you know, it's a slow cycle right now in sports news, and there's not really much happening. There's a Damian Lillard thing that's happening that to be quite honest with you, I don't really care at this point. When Damian Lillard, whatever, ultimately gets traded, then I'll have something to say. I'm not really interested in the day-to-day of where Damian Lillard wants to play. But anyway, was doing some research, and I came across a segment. Funny enough, we were researching a Ben Simmons video. Then we came across a segment from Paul George podcast, right? Paul George has some great interviews. And in this particular show, he was interviewing Draymond Green. And as you guys know, Draymond Green is very, very outspoken, right? He always has a lot of things to say. And they were talking about a bunch of things. They were talking about Draymond Green's championships and all of those different things. So while they were talking about it, somewhere through the interview, they brought up Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons became, the topic of discussion. And while they were talking about Ben Simmons, essentially, they were talking about Ben Simmons' confidence and all of these different things. And Draymond Green was talking about how he lost his confidence and all of that. So that's essentially what they were talking about. And essentially, they were talking about Ben Simmons' unwillingness to shoot, which surprisingly is something that Draymond Green admitted to in this particular show, that he himself shared that same fear. Now, before we get to that part, if you guys remember well, Charles Barkley, who's probably the funniest man in sports media, he used to have this back and forth with Draymond Green. And during their back and forths, he came up with this phrase where he said, "Oh, Draymond Green, he put up another triple single," and everybody will crack up. So what we want to do is we want to give this video some context. So what we want to play a little bit of Charles Barkley saying this about Draymond, because it directly relates to what he's talking about here. So take a listen to Chuck, making his comment about Draymond Green. Take a listen to that.
Ball had a triple single.
I've told you, they thought he wasn't going to play with a sprained ankle.
Well, he had 2 points. He didn't play.
Okay, tell me this.
You had 2 points and you're going to say he played? He had 2 more points than me.
he had a triple single.
Oh, man.
Hey, Shaq, Draymond don't talk as much since he's having that triple single.
What did he average in Chuck? A triple single?
So Draymond Green had 9 minutes and 44 seconds of this one before being ejected.
He had his normal triple single.
Would continue
Ben Simmons,
to pour it on.
A man had another triple single tonight.
Danny Green for 3.
No, he didn't. Yes, he did.
Series.
Shaq, he's averaging a triple single.
So you heard what Charles Barkley had to say. Now, what we want to do is we want to play what Draymond had to say to Paul George about when he lost confidence in himself to shoot, and how it bothered him, and how, in fact, when people would say these things about him and leave him open and all of that stuff, it would actually bother him. So what we want to do is we want to play that part for you guys now, and then we're going to come back and unpack this thing. Take a listen to that part right here.
So if I go in there trying to score, then I'm just a lesser version of what they already have.
Right.
Smart. So my mindset wasn't to go in there and score. My mindset was go in there and do everything that David doesn't do.
Got you.
Right? So I'm going to go in there and lock up. D. Lee ain't playing no goddamn defense. I love D. Lee. That's one of my OGs. I love D. Lee. D. Lee ain't playing no defense. I am going to run and screen like nobody's tomorrow. D. Lee gonna set a screen, but D. Lee gonna set that screen to get him open. D. Lee ain't setting that screen to get you open.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna go screen, and I'm gonna get these guys involved differently than D. Lee does, because D. Lee is gonna score the ball, and he's a hell of a passer. But averages like 3-4 assists a game because that's not really what he's focused on doing. He is focused on putting that, as he should be, he's focused on putting that ball in there. And so I'm going to go get these guys involved like nobody else is getting them involved. And so that was my mindset, but it was just totally off of trying to do something different than he does. So if I can go do this, they won't compare me to him. They won't hold me to the standard that he's held to as far as scoring the ball every night.
Right.
And I can just bring my own thing. We start having success. And once we start having success, this is now really into my third year. Steve takes over. And that's when it really opened that up. And once we start having success, I'm like, all right, I need to do more and more and more of this. And then I start having my own personal success.
Right.
And it all just blossomed. Now I'll take you to another space though. As that continued to blossom, then we have our success, then KD comes. My individual game as far as scoring and shooting suffered. Because then that became so much of what they wanted me to do. The shooting wasn't a priority at all. It's like, and so then I started being called and viewed as a non-shooter when in fact I shot 37% from three. Like, I remember, shot straight out the ball.
Right.
And no one was just helping off of me.
Right.
But then I started being like spoke to and viewed as a non-shooter just because I was doing so much to get those guys involved.
Right.
And in turn, I lost my confidence. And so I lost my confidence in my shot. So how many listen to this too? Don't ever lose your confidence. But I lost my confidence in my shot. And, I'm trying to get K involved. I'm trying to get Steph involved. I'm trying to get Clay involved. In my mind, I'm thinking like, man, Steph came down and hoisted 3 crazy shots. And because he did, Clay just came down and hoisted one from half court. And next time he came down and hoisted one from the other side of half court. And by the way, it's been now 8 possessions that Kevin hasn't touched the ball. So I catch the ball and I may be in a position to shoot it, but I'm like, K ain't touched the ball. I need to get him a look. And just making, that's the point guard in me, just making sure everybody touched the ball. But it really took an impact. It really had an impact on my offensive game and especially my confidence and my mindset. Because then once it was like, oh, well, those guys are shooting the ball. So our non-shooter, and it's like I'm being mentioned as the non-shooter, start to believe it. As great as it was and it has been, and I wouldn't change it for a thing in the world, it had a negative impact as well because it, like I said, I lost all confidence. And also, you go in the gym and shoot with me right now, P, I probably can
knocking
shoot
that
with,
knocking that
with you, but I'm gonna shoot the piss out the ball. But getting back over that hurdle, from the confidence perspective, I feel like I just started getting it back like maybe last year. But it's still a process.
But what people don't understand either is basketball and shooting is such a feel rhythm thing.
Absolutely.
If you get 5 shots in a game, like you ain't gonna know if it's your night or not. You know what I mean? Like you don't know if you shooting well tonight or not. Like you could miss 3 threes and be like, damn, like I'm struggling tonight. Nah, bro, you just shot 3 threes. Like,
you always tell me it's
next
hard
3,
to
you could be money.
Points.
But it is tough when like you do have pressure of having 2 of the best with KD there, 3 of the best 3-point shooters around you. So like it comes a time where it's like, Draymond, swing that. Like you. So that's pressure. It is pressure.
100%.
And people do not understand that. So
it's crazy.
I'm glad you spoke your truth on that because you was a knockdown shooter. And I know like on 2K, I'm hitting the 3 with Draymond. Like you as a shooter on
I love how we bring 2K in this all the time.
You got to. You got to. Because 2K a tell. 2K a show. He was a B+. His 3-point.
I love it.
No, for sure. But it was all confidence though.
Yeah.
And like now I'm working to get that confidence back still. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, last year was a big jump for me. It was a big hurdle.
So you heard what Draymond Green had to say. Now, funny enough, before producing this show, I actually looked up Draymond and Ben Simmons stats. Last season, Ben Simmons averaged 6.9 points per game. He got, 6.3 rebounds and 6.1 assists, 1.3 steals. Draymond Green averaged last season 8.5 points per game, 7.2 rebounds, 6.8 assists per game, while he got you 1.5 steals and 1 block per game. Now, we know that Draymond Green is the emotional catalyst for the Golden State Warriors. He's the one that really moves the needle for that team. And we know what he brings to them on the defensive side of the floor. Obviously, he's a great passer, very smart basketball player. But while I was listening to Draymond, the thought occurred to me, which was, would Draymond Green have had the career that he had he not played with the Golden State Warriors? It's something that I really thought about. Would Draymond Green be the player that we think of today had he not played with the Golden State Warriors? Now, some people will say he probably would have been a better player because he would have needed to concede. He wouldn't have needed to take a back seat. Obviously, earlier in his career, he was a more aggressive player. In fact, at one point in his NBA career, in the 2015-2016 season, that playoffs, he averaged 15 points per game in the playoffs. In the regular season that year, he averaged 14 points per game and 9.5 rebounds. So he was a more effective offensive player, that's for sure. But it really makes me wonder, is it also the fact that he had an opportunity to play with Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson? Now, not saying that those guys would won those championships without him, because they certainly would not have. But I just wonder what Draymond's career would have looked like. But also, it's quite surprising because it reveals the fact that, when Charles Barkley said that stuff, it actually bothered him. And at the time, Draymond tried to deflect and say, oh, no, well, the only reason Charles is saying that is because he's jealous about the money that he's making. But when in reality, Charles Barkley is already a rich fella. And number two, Charles Barkley was a 15 million times better player than Draymond Green. So I don't think Charles was jealous about anything about Draymond Green. And in fact, I think Draymond knew that the triple single thing did bother him. The fact that he wouldn't shoot, the fact that he lost confidence in his shot. And that's, in fact, the truth. It wasn't that Charles Barkley was hating on him. It's just that he was pointing out something that he was very sensitive about there. Now, I got to commend Draymond because he was very forthcoming, right? He was forthcoming, which I think made a great interview, because people are not up there, oh, I can't say what I heard. I can't tell you that. So why'd you come on the interview? Why'd you come? What was the point of you coming to the interview? Every question they ask you, I can't really tell you that. Nah, I can't really say that. Nah, I'm not going to say it. So then just stay at your house. We'll interview somebody else who can say, when you ask them a question, they can give you an answer. So I thought that was a pretty revealing interview. The fact that he basically admitted that when people out there like Charles Barkley and others were making fun of him, it really got to him. So what we want to know is, what do you guys think about Draymond Green's admission there? And also, what kind of career do you think Draymond Green would have had if he wasn't with the Golden State Warriors? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts in the comment section. We catch you on the next show.